Ditching is never a nice thing. Not only will there be a right old hullabaloo up at group because you've pranged yet another precious kite, and the Hassagari F-16s are hard to get hold of, but out here in these parts, the fish have big teeth and they have big eyes, and you don't really want to spend much time in the Indian Ocean before the fish with big teeth find you. Now, if you crash locally around the area of Madagascar and the immediate island chain, the CASA 212s will be quickly on the scene, and they will hopefully drop some equipment to you, mark your position, and then you'll be picked up. Your wingman also will hopefully remain in the area to mark where you went down, and then more rescue craft and helicopters will come and pick you up. But if you go further afield, it can be a little bit more challenging. And take this solitary tale of Biggles McFarlane, who was out looking for bad actors to teach acting lessons to in his F-16 CGM Weasel. Unfortunately, his big end went, and that was the end of his F-16 Viper, so he had to punch out. The wingman marked the position, his emergency beacon secure, transmitter activated, and then the next thing to go out on the scene, because it was outside the range of the CASAs, was this, which is the U-25. The U-25 I've covered in a recent video. That goes out at high speed using its radar and its observation sensors to locate the downed aircrew. Now, Combat Search and Rescue Wing, which is run by the Air Force, which provides combat search and rescue for all of the military branches and also picks up civilian work when it has to, has just got a capability boost. And this is my fourth HC-142 from Anigrand, which I've just completed as a combat search and rescue aircraft. Now, this is a tilt rotor. In every single metric, it outdoes the Osprey, except cost and development hurdles. This is, of course, a what if. I build what ifs, and it is a real shame that this aircraft did not get the development time it deserves. Now, I've done this one in the wings in the intermediate position. It has a full 90 and 90 plus degree tilt for takeoff and landing like a helicopter. So this would be if it's coming into land in short takeoff mode, or if it's coming to take off in a short takeoff mode. It does have this rear tail rotor. I've modified the kit slightly by adding lumps and bumps, and the special operators, they like pimple radomes for some reason. We're not really sure why they like pimple radomes, but they do. They demanded a pimple radome. So from the spares box, from a Nimrod, they got a pimple radome. Apparently it's to hold a specialised terrain following radar. The actual XC-142, C-142, U-142s do have a radar in there. And the type has been renamed the Mongoose, which I think is much better. I've added some SATCOM stuff on there. I've added some ECM countermeasures stuff, chaff and flare boxes just using plasticard as I do. Underneath, we've got a forward-looking infrared turret, which is added. And then we've got the winch hatch marked out there with just a decal from the NH90. And the don't get in front of the propellers line is also marked out there with a decal. Now, this kit did require a lot of sanding, as do all of these. But this is the first one where the cockpit canopy has gone on nicely without any warpage and without me wrecking it through glue problems or stupidity. So I've finally got the XC-142 cockpit to look as it should. And as you can see, it's a bit of a greenhouse. Now, the top bits there, they are meant to be painted over. That's where the ejector seats come out. The two air crew have ejector seats. The people in the back just have to leg it. It is a really nice aircraft. And underneath, I've added from a spare Rescue Hawk this rescue dispenser. Now, on the Rescue Hawk, that can be used as a fuel tank, or it can carry a life raft, survival gear, and it can deploy that to any survivors in the water. So that's what that's used for. Now, my plan is to do a few more of these when I have the funds and availability, but they aren't cheap. they are certainly quite expensive. Now, this is from the Terminator Squadron, and my homemade decals are doing their usual peeling off, which is often I have to then stick them back on with some specialised decal stuff. I do use decal softener. So Combat Search and Rescue Command, and going back to the story, sends out the Hawker Beach aircraft, which has a 500 plus mile an hour speed, 41,000 mile an hour service ceiling, and a 2,615 mile range. It is, of course, air refuelable, as is everything in the Combat Search and Rescue fleet. If it's close into the island chain, and down here, of course, you've got more islands that the Madagascans control, and the Kerguelen, and the rescue helicopters are based up here, and the Comores out on the island chain up towards what was the Seychelles, out on these islands here and down here. So they've got varied capabilities, and close in, they made well dispatch the HH-60 Rescue Hawk. There it is with its extra machine guns. Longer range, they will dispatch the HC-142s or the HH-53E Pave Dragons, which are the biggest and largest helicopters in the Madagascar What If service, and they are fully kitted out. Now, the reason that they've brought in the HC-142s is because the Rescue Hawks are fairly slow, and the HH-53s, whilst they are actually a fast helicopter, are also quite slow comparably to the CASAs, which is very slow. The HC-142 is much faster, so it's able to get on station quicker, provides a real capability boost. Now, sometimes, and imagine if you've crashed onto a tiny little island down here, and you're on your way to see John in Australia, well, there you may have to rely on the HC-142s to get in, or the HH-53s. If you're somewhere closer, down here, maybe on these islands, the HH-60s will be able to support. And when the Malagasys deploy their Air Force or Navy or anything aviation based with the Army, they go with these assets in support. So the HC-142 is a real capability boost. The CASA is not combat capable, so that stays in the immediate island chain, but all of the rest of them are combat capable. And so when this F-16 pilot crashed, first on the scene was the Hawker, and then he was picked up by one of these fine assets. Now, over time, the HH-53Es will be retired by 2035. They've got 11 years to serve, 10 years to serve even now. And the HC-142s, I'll be buying another 9 of those to give 18 of these to take over there. There may be a change to the now light rescue helicopter, but that is all in the future. But that is the capability boost. And if you do go down in the drink and need to get rescued, these are your best friends. If you go down on land, they're also your best friends. And that's where the capability that they offer with the HH-53 comes into its own, with 2 50 cals up front and 1 50 cal on the ramp, and the miniguns here on the HH-60. Now, the HC-142 does have a rear ramp 50 cal if it needs it, but it's not an aircraft which is fitted with front door guns at the minute, just because when you're flying at 400 mile an hour, it's pretty hard to aim at anything. But there you go, that is the combat search and rescue capability. They do support black operations and operations for special forces, but that is breaking up, Russian jamming.